But I realized that, if I'm going to be putting all that money into 403b, all that money into an HSA, my wife has a Roth IRA, all of that money is going to be available only when I reach retirement age, post 60. But I would like to be able to retire earlier than that if possible, which means I need flexibility. Welcome to the Teacher Money Show, the podcast dedicated to helping teachers navigate your unique financial challenges and unlock your financial superpowers. I'm your host, Sean Morgan, a full-time teacher. That's right, I teach every day just like you, and personal financial coach and speaker. And I'm here to help every teacher, whether you're a seasoned teacher looking for fresh insights or a new educator navigating your first paycheck, to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life. The contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither I nor my guests are engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should not act upon this information without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional. Okay, so this is the final episode of season 2, and I was going to do a longer breakdown of everything I learned over the course of this season, but uh, unexpectedly, my wife ended up having our baby a little early, so we're kind of doing this on the fly, and we've just got a few minutes here to record and cap off this season, and then we'll be back in August. So I just want to remind you guys that we've been, talking about investing for this entire season. And it's been a fantastic season because I feel like it's really gone deep into how to think about investing properly for teachers. So I'm just going to hit on some highlights, some things that I really loved from this season. Every episode was fantastic, but for our season theme of investing particularly, there are just a few things that I think are worth pointing out. First of all, that your pension is an investment. It's an investment of your time. Yes, your money goes into it, but like you never see that money. You have no control over that. So don't think of it that way. But your time, like the longer you serve, the higher your pension will be. And there are ways to amplify that with, purchasing years of service and things like that. We talked about that with Carl Fisk. Fantastic episode there. So definitely check out Carl Fish's episode on the pension because that is really the best breakdown for pensions that you're ever going to get. The next thing that I want to bring up is that, investing doesn't have to be hard, right? You can just invest in pretty simple things. We talked a lot about an index fund investing uh, throughout this season. So there's no specific episode, but you have to just stay the course, right? A great story on staying the course was Ryan Cruz. We talked all about his story and how he teaches personal finance now, but he also is just like getting his personal financial journey, organized. Uh, and he's just staying the course now. He will be a multimillionaire as a teacher because he's simply staying the course. That episode has impacted me a lot. I continue to think about this opening he had where he tells the students, to think about what it means to be a millionaire, and then he declares to them, I will be a multimillionaire, which is the ability for that to change the way a student thinks about themselves and what's possible. To have a teacher who's supposed to be poor declare that is just uh, earth-shattering, in my opinion. We talked about dividend investing and how you can invest in dividends to have usable income from your investments, over the long term. And Kanwal Sarai just blew my mind with his dividend investing rules. The 12 rules for investing in dividends so that way you do it right instead of doing it, throwing a dart at the board was just mind-blowing. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this path unless you have the time and energy to really dive in. You just like love thinking about dividend investing because it takes a lot of time and energy. You can't just say, well, this is the thing, I'm going to stick with it. You have to continually be thinking and reassessing your portfolio as a result. We talked about maintaining your financial goals with Rashad Muhammad. That was a fun episode just talking about, keeping to the course, right? It's really easy to move the goalposts continually. Say, like, well, I need this much money because now I'm spending this much. And then you increase how much you spend. Like, well, now I need this much money for retirement. Instead, just keeping your financial goals where they are, keeping them firm so that way you can actually meet them. Fantastic. Then we had that amazing two-part episode with Matt Kimball where he was talking about mindset and changing the teacher mindset to be in an abundance money mindset. I know that's not necessarily investing related, but having the correct mindset is absolutely critical to investing well. It's the unspoken thing that we need to remember when we are investing is that your mindset has to be right. So I would say just listen to both of those episodes with Matt because they are just worth going back and listening to and considering where your mindset is at. Uh, I talked about real estate and how I invest in real estate and how it's been great and it's been terrible, both for me. So, keeping that in mind as you're considering your investing, those episodes are pretty raw on what my life has been like. And, it's up to you if you invest in real estate, but I think those are a good place to begin just so you know what you're signing up for. Uh, there's so many other things that we could talk about. I'm skipping over many, many beautiful episodes, uh, but focusing in on investing here. The episode where we talked about taxable brokerage accounts with Rachel, the teacher to millionaire. That was just a great episode, and it really changed my mindset a lot. I'm going to talk about how my investing has changed over the course of this year, and that episode was pretty pivotal. That episode was pretty pivotal in the way that I'm thinking about investing. And then the last couple of episodes that we talked about within our investing topic for the year, we talked about the HSA and investing in the HSA with Eric. That was a fantastic episode. Eric McClary was just, a wealth of knowledge on how he uses the HSA to invest. And even though it's difficult, he does it anyway because of the amazing tax advantages there. And then with Jeff Venables, just recently talked about investing given the recent changes. How should you change your investment approach? Spoiler, the answer is you shouldn't, right? Just stick to the course, stick to the easy path, the simple path, right? Investing in low cost index funds is is what most people seem to recommend. So it seems like a good choice. Once again, your situation is your situation. Uh, Make sure that you are looking into what is best for you, getting professional advice for yourself before making decisions. But that is the thing that we've heard again and again and again. And I forgot finally, just the last episode we did, we talked about bonds. I've never been a fan of bonds, and Dara wasn't even like go all in on bonds, right? Bonds have always been a secondary thing to investing in stocks. And publicly traded bonds have been so low they haven't even been worth looking at, but those privately traded bonds, so worthwhile. And like I said, I really connected with the company Worthy that sells those bonds at a fractional sale, so it's $10 a bond. I really like that. Now, if you want to link to any of these episodes that I just mentioned, uh, or would you like to have the link to Worthy Bonds since I just mentioned them as well, you can go to teachermoneyshow.com/podcast, go to the show notes there, or you can go to the description of your actual in your actual podcast player and click on the direct link to the show notes for this show. And you'll have a link to all of these episodes to go back and check them out. Or you can get a link to go to Worthy, because once again, Worthy Bonds, I can't recommend them enough as a good place to begin with bonds. And then I'm just also going to throw this out here that what I use to invest in is is Fidelity. So if you'd like to open up an account with Fidelity because they're a low cost broker who doesn't have extraneous fees that offers these low cost index funds, then go ahead and use the link that I have in there as well to sign up. It would help the show continue, and you'll get into a good provider a good broker who's going to not, charge you a ton of fees, of course, assuming you're investing in the low cost options. But there's no fee just to be with Fidelity like there is with some other companies. So those are the things that really stood out to me this season. Now, I just want to tell you how my investing approach has changed over the course of this year as I've discussed this. I figured out that what I really need is to stay the course in one area, but change drastically in another. So I was looking at my 403b investments. I do invest in a 403b. My school provides that 403b. And actually, because I'm working for a charter school, the 403b is provided in lieu of a pension. So while I talk about pensions and I am invested in a pension in Colorado, just a little bit, my pension is actually not going to be there because I have this 403b. But my 403b provider is a low cost, low fee 403b provider. My school was founded by a financial guy who understood the benefits of a strong 403b. So I have a large percent of my paycheck and a match even from my school going into the 403b in lieu of a pension. And then I'm also contributing to an HSA and using that as an investment. And Eric reminded me that even though I've got, a lot of expenses, baby, right? I just had a baby, so a lot of medical expenses came up. I have made an extra effort to avoid spending the HSA money so that way that is growing for retirement and not being used for medical. But once again, I had a long stretch of medical expenses I couldn't really pay for out of pocket. So I was using that because I was flexible on it. I know that I can use it if I need it because going into debt to keep money into the HSA is probably not the best choice, especially because putting money into the HSA to pay for medical expenses when it's coming out tax free, going in and coming out tax free is a really great way to avoid those taxes. So if you're going to pay for those anyway, but you can't afford to pay for it with, after tax money, using that HSA is a powerful tool for that. But I realized that, if I'm going to be putting all that money into 403b, all that money into an HSA, my wife has a Roth IRA, all of that money is going to be available only when I reach retirement age, post 60. But I would like to be able to retire earlier than that if possible, which means I need flexibility, which is why that episode with Rachel was really, really insightful for me. My approach has changed where I am now going to be focusing, other than those minimums that I'm doing to max out the HSA or almost max out the HSA, and get my full benefit from my 403b. Other than those and my wife's IRA, which are going to get us where we need to be for sure in retirement. Everything above that, I'm going to be now moving into a taxable brokerage. I'm going to be investing just, in a simple S&P 500, just going for long-term growth in the brokerage because then when I pull that money out after I've retired, because of the rules, of course, the rules can change. You have to live with what you're in, but because the rules right now are that I'd have, the 30,000 standard deduction, up to 90,000 long-term capital gains. So that's, 120,000 that I can pull out without paying taxes on it to come back out. It basically becomes a Roth retirement account at that point, because I'm not being taxed on that money when I pull it back out. So I'm going to put the money in, let it grow, let it grow, let it grow over the next 20 or so years. So that way, my goal would be to be able to retire at 50. I have reasons for doing that. I want to do more service in my church, and I feel like it'll be easier to do that if I am retired. So that is my long-term goal, and that's how I'm going to get there. And this season has shifted my perspective and helped me see what I can do to reach that goal. So don't blindly move towards a goal. Don't blindly move towards a retirement, just saying I'm going to get to retirement someday at some point. You have to run the numbers, figure out, okay, if I'm putting this much money here, it's going to get to this much. Do I need that much in that kind of account or do I need it somewhere else? Those are powerful ways of thinking about it. And then the other thing that's going to change is I'm, putting money into an emergency fund. Once I get to a certain amount, I've had to do a lot of emergency fund things lately. So I'm in the reaccumulation phase with the emergency fund, which is, part of having an emergency fund. But once I get to a certain amount, I'm going to then start moving some into bonds with Worthy because that interest rate is going to be so much higher than what I can get in my high yield savings account and still be liquid. So I'll have that to keep growing that amount of money. So there's just a lot of really cool things to do. But once again, I'm staying the course, right? I'm not changing. I am just on the path. I saw the beauty of dividends that Canwall shared, but I don't have the time to go deeper into that. So I'm not going to. But if you want to, because the dividend, I mean, I would love to do dividend investing, but that's not going to meet my goals. So I'm going to have to do a different kind of investing. But if you want to do that, great place to go. I've been dialing my mindset in. making, it's for the long haul. Don't do anything stupid with, the short-term moves, because the long haul is what you want. That mindset thing with Matt was huge. I'm changing my approach to real estate because it's been a pretty heavy risk for me lately. But I'm just continuing to invest, staying the course, and going from there. And that is how this season has changed me. I'd love to hear how the season has changed you. If you want to email me at Sean, SHAUN, at teachermoneyshow.com, that would be awesome to hear from you guys. And if you have any questions or you want to come on the show, you can go to teachermoneyshow.com/coaching. Let's have just a conversation with you. It could be a ton of fun. And if you don't like it, we don't have to air it. But, I would just love to hear more and interact more with those of you that are listening. And please remember that, while we're going to be on a break over the summer, we're going to come right back in August. We're going to be hitting it hard again, learning all about more things about money and teachers. So, during those initial PDs and you're meeting with all these new teachers, tell them about the Teacher Money Show. Just say, hey, come listen to this show where you will learn what you need to know to become a wealthy teacher by the end of your career. That alone can make all the difference in helping these teachers who are just starting out stick with it and continue to move and persevere forward, helping students just become amazing human beings as they are able to continue teaching and continue to get experience and become amazing master teachers. So it's all about helping teachers live better lives so that they can help their students become the best versions of themselves. But regardless of where you are in this journey, regardless of what your goals are, just remember, as a teacher, you are already rich. Your wallet just needs to catch up. If you would like help on your personal financial situation, go to teachermoneyshow.com/coaching and you'll be able to find different ways that I can help you there. If you would like to participate in spreading this message of financial empowerment to teachers, I would encourage you to talk to your administrator or to your district level about going to SeanKMorgan.com to find more information there. And regardless of which one of those you need, please like and subscribe so that way we can spread the reach of this more. Leave a 5-star rating and review. That's going to help more teachers find this, and then turn around and tell a teacher friend. I really appreciate it.